honourable member for Calgary Glenmore has risen to debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The member from Calgary Buffalo mentioned as he was speaking on his amendment that he thought that municipal politics, because of this legislation, would be changed forever. And to that, Mr. Speaker, I say good. Hear, hear. And I say I sure hope so. You know, yesterday the member from Edmonton Norwood Highlands, or Highlands Norwood, was speaking about how there were few women on council in Edmonton. The same is true in Calgary. And I was using my, well, it should have been my inside voice, but it was a little bit of my outside voice. And I said, because the incumbents keep winning. And we need to remember that not so long ago, most municipal councils were entirely male. And so as incumbents keep winning, if it's easy for incumbents to keep winning, you're not going to end up having that many women on council. It's going to take a long time before you get enough women on council, until enough men aren't incumbents. And, you know, I don't want to sound like, you know, somebody who's not very gutsy, or somebody who doesn't believe in the power of women. I do, and I'm pretty gutsy. But I got to tell you, incumbency does have an advantage for some, and it's a disadvantage for others. And it's been a disadvantage for women running for office, particularly municipally. And it's name recognition. It's about having that money in a treasure chest that you build up term after term after term. And so I'm curious as to why we would want to send this legislation away where it will never see the light of day again, when part of what it does is eliminate the treasure chest. So with part of this bill, it's eliminate, you need to, you can only have a campaign surplus of $1,000 and the rest of it has to go to charity. That eliminates that treasure chest that gave so many incumbents so much advantage for so long, to the point where people didn't even bother to run lots of times because they knew the other guy had like 300 grand sitting in an account somewhere. Wow. So that makes it pretty tough for a female who's breaking in, who might be in her 20s or early 30s, just trying to break in and doesn't have, you know, 300 grand sitting in a bank account somewhere to get their name recognition built up. So what does a woman have to do, or a newcomer to politics, someone from a cultural community that wants to break into politics? What do they have to do? Well, they got to get out and they got to start working. They got to start working early. And we got to keep in mind in municipal politics, large territory. It doesn't matter if it's urban or if it's rural. You're covering a lot of territory in a municipal ward. Okay, that means you're not door knocking for a couple of months and covering all those doors. You're door knocking for a couple of years to cover all those doors. If you want to get name reco, that's what you've got to do. And you know what? You're going to need some money to do that. You're going to need money to even throw little coffee parties. You're going to need money for just the tiny little cutouts. You know, somebody yesterday was talking about how they were cutting brochures with their kids on the kitchen table. Those still cost money. Where's that money going to come from? Well, you know what? When you're starting out in politics, sometimes it comes out of your own pocket. So what does this legislation do? Oh, that's right. It allows candidates to self-finance up to $10,000. Now, some will tell you, oh my, $10,000, that's only for wealthy people. No, that's for somebody who's running for office for 2 years straight, who's going to raise some money, but is going to probably self-finance for a while. And you know what? They're going to need that $10,000. And it shouldn't be cut off. You should be allowed to use some of your own money to campaign. And $10,000, even if it's annual, guess what? Doesn't go very far in this day and age anymore. Okay? So then we're going to talk about the donors. We've heard for weeks now about dark money. Dark money. Somehow we go from $4,000 to $5,000 and it's dark money. Oh, I'm getting there. I'm getting there, Mr. Speaker. I'm getting there. We can let the member for Calgary Buffalo know that. $5,000, dark money. Well, I'll tell you what, at $5,001, Is that dark money? If you're going to donate more than to more than one candidate, so it's $10,000, is that darker money? It's not dark money. You know what it is? $5,000 donated to several candidates is somebody from a cultural community who cares that people that share that person's values, that share their community values, that want to support somebody that looks like them to get onto council for once. That means they're going to want to share that money with not just one candidate, but multiple candidates. And it's the same thing with women. There's a lot of successful women out there. You know what? And they're not wearing pinstripe suits and smoking cigars and sitting drinking martinis at the club, doing dark money. No, they're supporting women to get into office. And I gotta tell you, I'm a little tired after watching this for years go on, where people place their bets. Which is the woman, which seat is she in that can win? Because we're going to throw all our finances in there, and all the rest of the women, they could be equally good candidates, but they're not going to get the money because they're going to place all their money on one seat. So you know what? This being able to donate to more than one candidate is important. It's important for people in cultural communities. It's important for women. It's important for people that are young trying to break into politics. It's important for people to be able to share the money that they worked hard for so that they can have, yes, that's right, some influence in politics. So they can see candidates and members that are elected that actually share their values of hard work and other values that they have. It's right that they should be able to share that money with more than one candidate. And you know what? $2,000 or $1,000 doesn't go very far these days. I mean, for Pete's sakes, you go to hold a town hall meeting, it's $150 to put up one little bold sign on one street corner for your town hall meeting. It takes like $1,500 just to have one town hall meeting. And that's before you rent the hall. So, you know, this dark money, and somehow we're gonna have people that are gonna donate $5,000 to 374 candidates. Okay, well, I'd like to meet that person. I don't know where they live, but I haven't met them yet. But it's, you know, it's very easy. It's really easy to come up with these crazy scenarios, when in fact what we should be talking about is the most likely scenarios, where people want to run, people care about their communities, people want to represent the people whose values they share. Okay? It's not about dark money. Honest to Pete. The money that you can raise in what we call the pre-writ period, that's before the election's called. Again, name recognition is important. How do you get that? Well, you get out and you knock on a pile of doors, but you're probably going to have some town halls, and you're probably going to have to, you know, have a few volunteer parties and that sort of thing, and that costs money. And you know what? People need to donate that money. And I'll tell you what else. Women can actually raise that money. Okay? I'm here to tell you, this whole idea that women don't know how to raise money, are you crazy? Who raises the money for all of the football teams, all of the soccer teams, all of the ski teams, the school councils? We don't have a problem knowing how to raise money. And you know what? It's time women stop using that as an excuse. We know how to raise money, and it's about darn time we just say so. And we can raise it in the pre-writ period, and I'd sure as heck like to see that limit raised to $5,000. Thank you very much. And then we talk about transparency. Oh, well, you know, the member across says, well, if you can't have a CFO that knows how to do all your weekly filings while you're running for office, knocking on doors and raising money and having coffee parties and going to town halls, if you can't find a CFO that can do that, I don't know. Does anybody know of a tree that grows volunteers? Because I sure don't. When people start off in politics, what's the couple of things that they need? They need a good pair of running shoes and they need some volunteers. And you know what? Building a campaign team for a newcomer is not easy. Half the time you don't even know what skill sets you need. That's right. So to sit there and expect that during your campaign, while you're trucking down the street in your running shoes, you've got somebody sitting in the office with a calculator filling out papers, more red tape, so that you can be transparent just in case somebody wants to talk about your dark money. No, that's just crazy in this day and age. People are short on time as it is. You can't expect volunteers to come into a campaign just so that they can fill out reports, so that, oh, by the way, that their donor that gave $195 can be put on a website somewhere. That's right. That's another thing. I got to tell you, there should be some way for people to donate money without risking having Twitter come after them. Okay, so let's get that straight too. Yeah, the horde coming after you with their pitchforks and torches. Oh, you donated money. So, volunteers don't grow on trees. There's enough transparency. As long as you tell people, as long as you tell the authorities afterwards who donated money, they're within the specified limits. And this is perfectly reasonable, this legislation. This actually enables people to run.
That's right.
This helps women to run. This helps people from cultural communities to run. And we deserve to have municipal councils where everybody can look on that council and say, somebody there looks like me. Somebody there recognizes my values. That's how politics should work. And yes, there is influence in politics. It's called voters. It's called friends, it's called family, and all of those other people that donate to you. Your parents sometimes your grandparents, sometimes your best friend's mom. That's the influence that most people see in politics. And that's what we shouldn't be trying to squash right now. And that's why this legislation is important. And trying to send it somewhere where it'll never be seen again is wrong. So I'm not going to support this amendment. I don't think this amendment is the right thing to do. We should pass this legislation. And with that, I will take my seat.